the strategic cost management in information technology sector. As we have seen that in information technology sector, we have to use the ABC costing. ABC and activity based costing. So what is the principle of this ABC costing? How it is implemented? How we are going to decide the cost driver that we had studied in the second unit. Now, in case of the service industry, where we can use the activity based costing. Why we use the activity based costing? Because activity based costing is the more accurate at as compared to other costing methodologies. Okay. In activity based costing, what we have to do, we have to identify the various cost drivers. Now, before identify the activity various cost drivers, first we have to list down the various activities involved into that particular process. And once we identified the list of the activities, then we have to identify the cost drivers. And on the basis of these cost drivers, as an organization, we can prepare this cost sheet. So here, cost of space, cost of power, cost of cooling, cost of operation, then salary, then purchase of new products, cost of personnel, purchase of spare parts and equipments, and programming. These are the various cost drivers. So whatever cost incurred, direct cost and indirect cost will be directly allocated to the cost drivers, and indirect cost will be allocated on the basis of its various cost centers. So on the basis of this, we can prepare this activity based on the basis of this, we can prepare this cost sheet. Okay. So we will use this cost sheet for strategic cost management, because on that basis we can identify which is the very much which is the area, which is the cost driver where costing is high or costing is huge, which is the area where, which is the head of cost driver where expenses are less, which are the areas where unnecessary costing is happening, which are the areas where as compared to its expenses, as compared to its incomes, or as compared to its returns, expenses are more. Accordingly, we can use cost reduction techniques. We will also have scope to reduce or skip certain activities. For example, cost of if cooling is not required for our organization. At that time, by considering its cost, what we will do, we will reduce or we will skip that cooling activity. If we skip the cooling activity, what will be the effect on my business? And if we add the cooling activity, then what will be effect on my business, that I can understand. Getting this? So here, with the help of this activity based costing technique in IT industry, we can identify which are the cost drivers and which are important and which are less important. And by these ways, we can reduce the cost, we can add the some of the cost centers, and we will allocate the cost centers accordingly. So that we had studied in the last lecture. Okay. Now, if you see the growth of IT sector, so here software product and technology services provide high growth opportunity for Indian software industry. We have already discussed that 8 to 10% population is engaged in the IT sector, and if we look towards the contribution in the GDP is about 8 to 10%. Means what? It is far higher than other industries, far higher than the GDP or contribution of the other industry. Means what? There is the huge scope for for IT industries to grow. Then these IT industries or Indian companies have market potential for software product development, such as enterprise software, that is e-business solution, ERP, e-corporate governance, consumer softwares, and embedded software. So these are the various areas where software industry is creating their existence. So these are the areas where software industries are increasing their businesses and they are increasing foreign exchanges. So the scope is very vast, and our Indian softwares and Indian programs has a huge demand into foreign countries as well. So that through selling this selling these softwares to the foreign countries, India is getting huge foreign exchange or huge foreign currencies. And now we are shifting from manual to automated, manual to self-started. That's why there is very much scope for this IT sector, because IT sector is engaged in developing various kinds of softwares, various kinds of programs, various kinds of algorithms, which has various demands in within India as well as across India as well. So Indian companies has developed number of highly acclaimed and popular packages such as HR management software, then business accounting software by TCS, then banking automation software packages by Infosys, then ERP tool by Ranko. So these are the various most leading software now these Indian multinational software companies are selling across the globe, through which they are doing the business, they are progressing. So this segment is high technology oriented and require highly skilled professionals. And the skilled professionals is the need of this IT sector, and that kind of skills professionals we are creating in our India. And with the help of this, with this IT industries, we are also providing the IT enabled services, ITES. IT enabled services means what? Support services to these IT industries. We are also engaging with the business processing outsourcing as well as knowledge process outsourcing, through which also we are generating huge revenue or remarkable revenue. So this is about the growth of IT sector. Now, as growth is there, so accordingly cost is also involved. So here, to improve our IT sector, to improve the business, we need to keep control on the cost. Now, IT services, both export and domestic, will grow rapidly as a new opportunities in emerging management consulting services, application, maintenance, and internet services. So these kind of services we are providing to the IT industries across the globe. Now, if you look towards now, government is also adopting these IT technologies in each and every areas. So due to which what is happening, the manpower costing or labor costing is also reducing, as well as we can also save the time through these IT enabled services and through these software services. What is happening? So whatever are the delays in government processes, that is we have removed. Now what all types of admissions, competitive exams, as well as all kind of agricultural services, then health services, we are implementing this kind of IT and IT enabled services. Due to this IT and IT enabled services, what is happening? We are saving our time, we are saving our cost, and we are making accurate processing. So our processes are becoming very fast. So this is the scope of IT and IT enabled services in India. The major users of IT services are the government, financial services, banking, manufacturing, and retail and distribution agencies. By using or by adopting these IT services, these companies are improving their efficiencies. These companies are also consuming very less time to reach towards the customers. So this is the benefit of this IT sector. Then IT services essentially require high quality manpower, because the expert should be there, who trained person will be there. If trained person is not there at that time, this service can face lots of challenges. That's why to use these IT services and IT enabled services, to use these programming, we should have a highly qualified staff. If the highly qualified staff is there, then we can save some of the expenses. We can save the time. Getting this? Otherwise, what will happen? You can face lots of problems and lots of distractions. That's why to use these services, we should require the highly quality manpower. Okay, so this was the growth of IT sector. So so this is about the strategic cost management into IT sector or information technology sector that we had studied. So next is the strategic cost management in power sector. Power yani power and energy sector. Where how can we manage this? Because this is one of the sector where India has to focus. Okay. Power and energy sector means what? It is the sector which is engaged in the generation of power, that is generation of electricity and generation of power. Okay. Now, power and energy is one of the most critical component of infrastructure. We are providing the services to across the globe, and demand of power and demand of energy is increasing day by day due to this increase in demand of the people. Okay. Now, power and energy is one of the most critical component in infrastructure, crucial for economic growth of the welfare of the nation. The way in which we are in creating infrastructure of this power, infrastructure of this energy, it also help for the economic development of the country. Getting this? So it also plays some important role, because everywhere to do the any kind of business, to do any kind of activities, we are depend on power, we are depend on electricity, we are depend on energy. Getting this? So if the infrastructure of this power and electricity or this energy, if it is widely spread, then automatically customers or people's business depends on this infrastructure of the power. So it also contribute to the economic growth. India's power sector is one of the most diversified in the world, because as an Indian, we are also selling the powers to across the globe, to some of the businessmen as well, to the foreign countries also we are selling our power and energy. Sources of power generation. Which are the sources for power generations? There are some of the conventional sources as well as non-conventional sources are there. Like coal is one source. Due to by using this coal, I can generate the electricity, I can generate the power. Then lignite is there, natural gas is there, oil is there, hydro and nuclear power is there. By using this kind of constituent, I can or India can generate the power and electricity. As well as there are some of the natural or non-conventional sources like wind, solar energy, agricultural and domestic waste. So these are the non-conventional sources which will be also useful to generate the power. So power is the one source, or power is the one sector where there is the huge scope for huge opportunities. Power is one scope, there is huge opportunities to investment or to invest. So whatever is the infrastructure we are creating about the power, it will also help for economic development. Getting this? As of now, there is the shortage of electricity every day. There is the some of the areas where still there is no electricity, still there is no power. Okay, the way in which we are spreading the infrastructure or the network of power accordingly, what we can do the economic development. So this is the power sector is the one major area where so many challenges are there, but so many opportunities are also there. We are using traditional techniques as well as some modern techniques or non-conventional technique to generate the power. But power is the need of Indian economy. Power is the need of Indian businesses. Okay, the electricity demand in the country has increased rapidly because businesses are spreading day by day. Network is spreading day by day. That's why to run the businesses, to run the industries, we require power. And resources to generate the power is only very limited. Like coal is there, lignite is there, natural gas, oil, hydro, and nuclear power, then water is there, water is there, wind is there, solar, agricultural and domestic waste. Means what, we have very limited resources to generate the power. And if you see about the demand, so demand of electricity and demand of power is huge. So as of now, we are not satisfying required demand of industry with respect to power, required demand of customers with respect to power, because generation is very less as compared to its demand. Supply is very less. So there is huge gap between supply and demand of electricity. That's why this is the sector where we have to invest capital, and we have to start power related and this energy related sector. In order to meet the increasing demand of electricity in the country, massive addition of installed generating capacity is required. So we should have to add some new technologies. We should have to add new resources. We should generate the power and energy. So see, sustained economic growth continues to drive electricity demand in the India. Okay, because if we are required huge electricity, means what, it is good, because it shows that your economy is improving, your economy is developing, because due to this economic development, industries are just generating, and due to this industries, power is required. Getting this? So there is the huge scope for power and electricity generation, because this is the current need of our industries. Due to power failure, due to shortage of power, so many businesses are there, they are facing the problems. And each and every industry can't create their own energy and own power. Now, Government of India now focusing on attaining the power for all has been accelerated capacity addition in the country. Nowadays, what we are doing, we are finding other sources to generate the power, because without power, nothing happens. India is the third largest producer and second largest consumer of electricity in the world. India is the third largest producer. So by satisfying, we can also have capacity to export our power and energy to outside countries. Getting this? But the thing is, we are not able to satisfying the demand of our customer, because due to industries are increasing. That's why there is huge network is required. Huge network or huge infrastructure of power is required. Okay. So India is the third largest producers of power and second largest consumer of electricity across the worldwide. So this is the contribution of power. The cost of power generation in services majorly includes fixed costs like interest on capital, because capital is required to acquire some of the assets, some of the equipments required for power generation. That's why capital is required, and fixed cost is the interest on that capital which we have raised. Then some of the equipments are there, some of the fixed assets are there, some of the machineries are there, some of the, some fans will be there. So every year we have to charge the depreciation. So depreciation is the one of the cost. Then repairs and maintenance of these machineries, repairs and machineries of the transformers, repairs and machineries of assets, that is also one of the cost. Then administrative expenses, hiring of labor, hiring of some of the electricity handling persons. Okay, so administration cost is also one of the expenses, and variable costs such as steam consumed, labor wages, lubricants and coals. So direct and indirect expenses are there, so which we have to manage strategically in power industry. Okay, so variable expenses are there as well as some fixed expenses are there, which will play the role, which will create the cost, which will generate the cost of this electricity. So as an industrialist, as a businessman, I should to have to understand what is the interest on capital, what is the rate of depreciation, how much repairs and maintenance cost is there, administrative, which are the administrative expenses, which are the various variable expenses, which are the fixed expenses. So accordingly, we need to manage this. Okay. Now, one minute. Yes. So that was related to power sector. Okay. So in power sector, what we have seen, power is required for economic development. Power means what? Generation of electricity and energy. Okay. There is the increasing demand of power and electricity in India because businesses are increasing day by day. There are two types of resources. One is the conventional resources and non-conventional resources. Conventional resources, these are the artificial resources that we have created. That is coal, lignite, natural gas, oil, hydro. These are the natural resources. By using these natural resources, I can generate the power. As well as now, the stock of these natural resources is very limited. That's why we are moving towards the stock of these artificial resources is very much less or limited. That's why we are moving towards the natural resources. Now, which are the natural resources? Wind, solar, agricultural and domestic waste. These are the natural resources which we have to use. Now, while maintaining the cost in the power sector, we have to identify which is the cost. Okay. Now also here also we are going to use the activity based costing technique. Okay. Now demand of power, demand of electricity is increasing day by day. Government is also deciding to supply the power for all. We should not keep any sector or any business which will be apart from power, where there is the shortage of power. So while managing the cost in the power sector, I need to identify which are the direct expenses and which are the indirect expenses and which are the fixed expenses. And accordingly, we can have a scope to reduce this cost. So if we try to reduce this cost of this power, automatically what will happen? We will supply the power at reasonable cost. Getting this? And we will be self-dependent in this power sector. So this was something about strategic cost management in case of power sector. Now let us move towards the strategic cost management in automobile sector. Okay. Now 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah. So, there is one mistake, that is implementation of service costing in it. This is not automobile industry. This is power sector. By mistake I have written over automobile industry. That's why I was confused about this. So automobile industry is starting from this slide. Now this is about the implementation of service costing in power sector, not automobile sector. Now if we want to implement the service costing, we have seen the ABC costing, then traditional costing, target costing. Now here, which costing we can use in service in in power sector, that is the service costing. अभी service costing कैसे use करते हैं? Now see here, power sector or energy sector is the intangible product. Intangible, why it is called as intangible product? Just see the heading is, there is the one mistake in heading. I have written automobile sector, but this is not automobile sector, this is power sector. Okay. Now, how we are going to use the service costing in IT industry? So first one is that Generation of electricity or generation of power is the intangible product. Why it is intangible product? Because product to which I can't touch, इसको बोलते हैं intangible. Intangible यानी जो प्रोडक्ट होते हैं उसको हम लोग टच नहीं कर सकते या उसका एग्जिस्टेंस हमको दिखता नहीं, उसको बोलते हैं इंटेंजिबल प्रोडक्ट. अभी सर्विस कॉस्टिंग वी हैव टू इम्प्लीमेंट इन द आईटी इंडस्ट्री, सॉरी इन पावर्स इंडस्ट्री और पावर सेक्टर. So service costing, so we have to just understand what are the characteristics of this service costing and how it is going to be implemented. Now first is where we can use this service costing in case of if our product or if we are selling the services. Selling of energy, selling of power is the service, selling of service. Now service costing deals with the operating cost of the products which does not have a physical form but satisfies consumer needs and wants. इसको physical existence नहीं है. I can't touch it. I can't see this power and I can see this electricity. But I can convert. By using this energy, I can drive fans. I can drive, machineries as well. So this product is the intangible. So where we can use this service cost. Second, the collection of cost data. When we use the service costing, at that time we have to use or we have to collect the cost data. Cost data means which are the areas where we have done the expenses. The documents used for service costing of the products includes cost sheets of various heads of the cost, then bills payable to whom we have to pay certain suppliers, bills payables, and daily log sheet. So these are the various areas we have to study it, we have to maintain. Cost sheet we have to maintain. So cost sheet is the sheet in which all direct and indirect costs related to this service we have maintained. Then bills payable means what? We have to pay certain bills of our suppliers, certain bills of our vendors. So we have to cost, we have to analyze this cost. And daily log sheet. Log sheet means what? This is the daily book where we are recording each and every. So this is also required in the service costing. Service costing we are using for power sector, where power is nothing but it is intangible product. Here in power sector, by using this service costing, we need to maintain the record of cost data, that is cost sheet, bills payables, and daily log sheet. Then your product or your service may be unique and standard service. The services so offered by such organization are specialized and exclusive. Okay, so we can't compare the services of power sector with services of, for example, automobile sector, services of health sector, or services of hospitality service. These services are unique services and there are very few leaders in the market. And this is the business of oligopoly or monopoly. There are very less leaders, which means competition is not available in this sector. Then if we look towards the working capital, okay, one time these fans, one time this this turbines has been installed. Once the plant is set up, after that working capital requirement is very less. In case of this power sector, need of working capital is very less. The fixed capital to acquire these fixed assets like machinery, then turbines, and any kind of transformers. So this is one-time cost is huge as compared to the working capital. With respect to fixed capital, working capital requirement is very less because raw material is not that much required. Because if you take an example of electricity generation through water, cost of water is not there. Getting this? So working capital required for this service industry in case of power sector is very less. Then cost per unit. Cost per unit, we have to identify these areas and accordingly we have to maintain our strategic cost. The cost per unit is determined by the type of service industry, what kind of industry is there, and accordingly cost drivers are there. Try to understand. जो कॉस्ट ड्राइवर्स हम लोग हॉस्पिटैलिटी इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए यूज करते हैं, वही कॉस्ट ड्राइवर्स हम लोग IT सॉरी पावर एनर्जी के लिए, पावर सेक्टर के लिए यूज नहीं करते, बिकॉज कॉस्ट ड्राइवर्स वुड बी डिफरेंट. The cost per unit is determined by the type of service industry the business belongs to, and it is usually differs from the company to company. For example, in case of power sector, we can use cost per unit kilowatt. Kilowatt will be our cost per unit measure. Then in internal and external services, the service costing can be carried out externally by the companies dedicated to the rendering such services. ये service costing जो है हम लोग external party से भी कर सकते हैं, as well as we can do carried internally. But here, this is the service where we have majorly depend on these agencies, because this is the one-time service. Because to set up the plant, we require huge capital. After that, to maintain daily expenses, there is no requirement of to hire internal people. So we can also outsource our tasks to some agencies. We can do this internal as well as we can do this in external service for maintaining the cost and for maintaining the expenses. Then cost classification behavior. In the operating cost sheet format, all business costs are classified as per their behavior, that is fixed cost, semi-variable cost, and variable cost. This is the cost classification in power sector. Less requirement of working capital and huge requirement of fixed capital. So accordingly, what we do, we can classify the cost incurred in power sector on the basis of fixed cost, semi-variable cost, and variable cost. Then also we can compare periodic or order-wise computation. The service costing records overheads at regular interval, monthly or yearly. So this is the way by which I can implement service costing technique for power sector. So here we are providing service. That's why service costing is the one of the costing technique that we can use in power sector. कलेक्शन ऑफ कॉस्ट डेटा चाहिए, स्टैंडर्ड सर्विसेज, यूनिक सर्विसेज होते हैं, कैपिटल की जरूरी बहुत कम होती है, कॉस्ट पर यूनिट हम लोग कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं, इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल सर्विस का अपडेशन करते हैं, कॉस्ट शीट मेंटेन, कॉस्ट डेटा मेंटेन करते हैं, कॉस्ट बिहेवियर अंडरस्टैंडिंग करना है, फिक्स कॉस्ट, सेमी वेरिएबल कॉस्ट एंड वेरिएबल कॉस्ट, एंड रेगुलर इंटरवल पे हम लोगों को ये मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा. दिस इज समथिंग अबाउट सर्विस कॉस्टिंग टू बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड in power and energy sector. Now, next area is the cost management in automobile sector. Cost management or strategic cost management in automobile sector. Just go through this slide, then we will discuss about the automobile sector. Automobile sector is the one of the growing sector, one of the very fast moving sector. And it is also contributing remarkable contribution into Indian economy or Indian GDP. Just go through this slide, then we will discuss. Yes. Now this is the one of the area, automobile sector or automobile industry, which is contributing remarkable contribution into our Indian economy. Getting this? Now automobile industry is the industry which is spreading, which is moving very fast. There is the very much tremendous expansion is happening right now in automobile sector. Okay, So just see, automobile industry operates in very fast competitive market because there are so many competitors are there into the market. Indian competitors are there, foreign companies are also coming towards India to deliver their better quality products to the customers. Okay. Now, due to huge competition into this sector, nowadays all the organizations are concentrating to reduce the cost of production. Because due to this competition, we can't charge more revenue. We can't charge more profit. We have to sell the product at competitive price. To sell the product at competitive price, I must reduce the cost of production. How can I reduce the cost of production? That's why I need to understand the cost drivers. I need to understand the cost areas where I can get scope to reduce the cost of productions, to reduce some of the activities. Because if we sell product at higher prices, at that time what will happen? Customer will move towards my competitor's product and I will lose the business. To survive in this competitive world, I need to focus on cost cutting strategies. I need to understand the cost management technique which we can implement in automobile sector. Getting this? Now, cost management demand has increased over the last decades. Why it is increased? Because in the last decades, competition is increasing tremendous. There is huge in competition is there because multinational companies are there. Indian multinational companies are there as well as foreign multinational companies are also coming into India. Getting this? So that what is happening? It is the problem or it is the question of survival if you are not reducing your cost. That's why all the industries are now focusing to reduce the cost. That's why they are implementing various kinds of cost reduction techniques and cost management techniques. Okay. Now, since last decade, competition is increasing day by day. Customers' expectation is increasing day by day. Customer is wanted high quality product with cheaper cost or cheaper price. And as per the customer's expectations, we have to shift our production process. We have to shift our policies as well. Okay. That's why cost management demand has increased over the last decade due to change in the organizational culture of the new economy, which is characterized by innovations are increasing day by day, fast-paced operations, very fast operation, new technologies, then informal practices and entrepreneurial spirit of risk management. Due to these activities, there is need to reduce the cost and to implement the cost management techniques. So automobile sector is the sector where there are so many innovations are happening. You can see every 6 months to 1 year, each and every company is launching new car, new product. You can take an example of any automobile companies. Automobile companies are launching new car after every 6 to 8 months. That much innovations are going on. Launching new car, it is not a joke. Launching a new car, it is not a small activity. There are so many activities like research and development, supply, uske baad design, inspection, then machinery. So many activities are there. And after every 6 months, all automobile companies are making innovations continuously. They are doing expenses on research and development, continuous expenses are there. Why it is required? Because if I don't make innovations in my product, that time what will happen? I will lose my market. I will go out of the market. To stay within the market, I have to do the innovations. To stay within the market, what I have to do? I have to do cost cutting. Because price is going to be fixed. Prices will be fixed. Okay, I can't charge more price to the customers. क्योंकि customer is now king of the market. Customer को जो product चाहिए वो product customer market से ले लेगा. And I can't force As a businessman, I can't force the customer to purchase my product. It is not in my hand. Market is now open for everybody. That's why we have to struggle as a businessman, as an automobile industry. These industries are struggling for cost cutting and cost management. Now, see, automobile companies are struggling with the product development, cost efficiency, material purchasing, and problems in adapting the changing the market demand and market conditions. So these are the challenges of in front of automobile industries, where there is the cost factor is there. Activity based costing and target costing is adapted so that production cost can well align with the selling price. With respect to this selling price, we can align, we can adjust our production cost and cutting down the abnormal losses into the system. Unnecessary activities, unwanted activities, we have to reduce, we have to remove, so that cost of production will be minimum. The cost of production is minimum, then we can sell this product at minimum margin to the market, at minimum price to the market. So accordingly, what we have to do, I have to decide the target costing. Target costing means what? I have to decide the target areas of my business where I should decide the target to reduce the cost. Everybody will be getting the target to reduce the cost. 10% reduction in the cost. Whatever are the activities involved in the processing, so we will decide the target cost. We will give the target to each and every responsible head to reduce the cost, to reduce the unnecessary expenses. By using the activity based costing, we can make the accurate costing technique. We can do the accurate costing, and by using the target costing, we can identify the target areas which are where is the scope to reduce this cost. We can use this activity based costing and target costing in the automobile sector to manage our cost, to reduce our cost. Now, see the cost reduction targets in automobile sector. Which are the areas, which are the activities where I can reduce as an automobile industry, where the cost will be reduced. Now, see the cost reduction targets were set up by the comparing the estimated existing cost with target cost. Existing cost kitna hai? So on the basis of this, I can give the target of 5%, 2%, 10%. Everybody working in the organization, he will get the target to reduce the cost. Okay. These function groups included following, like door and sidewall and roof, electrical system, bumpers, power strain, seat, heating system, and front end. So these are the areas where target costing will be decided. इसमें हमको क्या करना है? Cost saving करनी है. So whatever is the actual expenses of door band manufacturing, sidewall manufacturing, roof manufacturing, electrical system manufacturing, bumper manufacturing, power and seats manufacturing, we will set the targets and we will reduce this cost into these areas. These are the major areas in automobile sector where they play more role in the cost generation. Now see, the cost reduction targets were established for each and every component. जैसे कि यहाँ पे कुछ component का मैंने example दिया है. In the same manner, whatever components required to assemble final product, for each and every component, for each and every finished goods, we will apply the target cost. Target cost help us to decide standard target, and we will set some targets and we will align our actual expenses with respect to this target. Now, for competitive analysis, the company adopted competitive benchmark process and scratched down the competitor's vehicle. इसमें हम लोग क्या करते हैं? कॉम्पिटिटर का एक नया प्रोडक्ट लेते हैं और उसको स्क्रैच करते हैं यानी उसको स्क्रैप करते हैं और उससे हम लोग कॉस्ट कंसीडर करें. Scratch down the competitor's vehicle to help understand their cost and manufacturing process. Competitor का ने जो प्रोडक्ट बनाए, for example, let us take an example of Swift Desire and Tata Motors वन व्हीकल। तो टाटा मोटर को अगर कॉस्ट कटिंग करनी है तो व्हाट दे विल डू, दे विल अंडरस्टैंड द कॉम्पिटिटर्स प्रोसेसेस। स्विफ्ट डिजायर एक लेंगे और उसको स्क्रैच करके एक एक प्रोडक्ट साइड को निकाल के they will list down the activities, they will list down the what are the component of the cost of mine and mine competitors। मेरा कॉम्पिटिटर का प्रोडक्ट उसका स्क्रैच करके, स्क्रैच यानी उसको ब्रेक डाउन करेंगे, उसको ब्रेक करेंगे एक एक पार्ट में, और हर एक पार्ट की कॉस्ट आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे और उसका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस और मेरा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस मैं कंपेयर करूंगा। सो दिस हैपेंस इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। Why it is possible to Swift or to Maruti Suzuki company to sell the product at minimum price, and why it is not possible to me as a Tata Motors? तो ये एनालिसिस करने के लिए टाटा स्विफ्ट डिजायर जो बनाया है मारुति सुजुकी ने, उसका कॉस्टिंग कैसा है, उसका कॉस्टिंग प्रोसेसिंग कैसा है और मेरा क्या है, I can just make the analysis and accordingly I will get scope to reduce my cost. To do this, I have to scratch some products from my competitors. I need to understand the processes of my competitors. I need to understand the areas of cost of my competitors and areas of cost of my organization. So this technique I can use in automobile sector. Okay. Then costing methods helps the company to create cost benchmarks. कॉस्टिंग मेथड्स का यूज क्या है कि कॉस्ट बेंचमार्क हम लोग सेट कर सकते हैं। तो दिस बेंचमार्क्स और दिस इंडेक्स वाज क्रिएटेड टू सपोर्ट द टारगेट कॉस्टिंग। टारगेट कॉस्टिंग को सपोर्ट करने के लिए वी विल डिसाइड सच कॉस्टिंग बेंचमार्क्स। द कंपनी गैदर्स वेरियस इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम द एंड यूजर्स लाइक कस्टमर्स। ओके, end users like dealers or whole retailers or customers. The company gathers various information from end users about the various demands and requirements they are looking forward from the cars or from the some final product. So here, to reduce the cost, what are the expectations of my end user? Accordingly, I can add the various cost. Okay, there will be some products because there will be as per the expectation like basic model, middle model, top model या super model। ऐसे कि जो हम लोग वेरियस मॉडल बनाते हैं बिकॉज बाय अंडरस्टैंडिंग द नीड ऑफ कस्टमर। कुछ प्रोडक्ट ऐसे रहेंगे कि बेसिक प्रोडक्ट कस्टमर को चाहिए, कुछ कस्टमर ऐसे रहेंगे कि उनको टॉप मॉडल ही चाहिए, उनको सीएनजी मॉडल चाहिए, पेट्रोल मॉडल चाहिए, डीजल मॉडल चाहिए, इलेक्ट्रिक मॉडल चाहिए, एसी नहीं चाहिए, उसके बाद विंडो पावर सिस्टम, पावर स्टीयरिंग नहीं चाहिए। गेटिंग दिस? So by understanding the expectations of the customers, I can create the modifications into product, and accordingly cost will be associated, and as per this cost I can charge the price based on the demands and requirements. The matrices are created to derive the target cost. तो कस्टमर की नीड क्या है, कस्टमर्स के एक्सपेक्टेशंस क्या है, accordingly I can decide the target. I can create the target into various cost centers. After this, the company decide target cost of various ancillaries of auto parts of the car. तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, हर एक एंसिलरी प्रोडक्ट को, हर एक सप्लायर को हम लोग टारगेट कॉस्ट डिसाइड करेंगे। अगर ये प्रोडक्ट लेना है तो इधर से ही लेना है और उतने ही कॉस्ट में मुझे लेना है। So that again by setting the target, we will give the targets to various ancillaries. Ancillaries yani supplier, auto ancillaries. Auto ancillaries means what? These are the inputs which are required to generate the finished products. So these are the various techniques we will use in automobile industries to reduce this cost. अभी देखिए, recommendations to improve the cost management for automotive supplier. Auto ancillary जो होते हैं, जो supplier मेरे होते हैं, जो मुझे माल बेचते हैं और मैं वो माल असेंबल करके, वो इनपुट्स असेंबल करके मैं फाइनल प्रोडक्ट बनाता हूँ। अभी टू रिड्यूस द कॉस्ट, टू मैनेज द कॉस्ट, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ recommendations I can give to the automotive suppliers, to automobile or to the to ancillaries. Just go through these recommendations. What recommendations are required? Just go through this slide, then we will discuss. Okay, now see here. If you produce one finished product, like for example, Maruti Suzuki. Now Maruti Suzuki is assembled by various inputs from various suppliers. Okay. अभी देखिए, if you take an example of Maruti Suzuki as Swift, at that let us take an example of Swift Desire. So to assemble this finished product as a Swift Desire, it consists of thousands of inputs, thousands of small material. डोर है, स्टीयरिंग है, सीट है, टायर है, उसके बाद चैसिस है, देन एयर कंडीशनिंग है. ये सारे जो चीजें होते हैं इसको बोलते हैं ऑटो एंसिलरीज. these are the inputs which are not prepared by Maruti Suzuki. ये ऑटो एंसिलरीज सप्लायर प्रोवाइड करता है. अगर एक एग्जांपल कार का लिया तो इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ थाउजेंड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स. And if thousands of products are there, means what? These thousands of products may be supplied by thousands of supplier. Thousand supplier ये products मुझे supply करते हैं. My role is to only produce major part, like engine मैं बनाऊंगा, chassis मैं बनाऊंगा. Getting this? जो small part है वो क्या करते हैं, हम लोग outsource करते हैं. अभी देखिए, अगर मेरे सप्लायर ने भी कॉस्ट कटिंग किया तो इफ माय सप्लायर इज एबल टू सप्लाई मी रॉ मटेरियल और दिस इनपुट एट मिनिमम कॉस्ट, तो मेरा भी कॉस्ट मैनेजमेंट हो जाएगा. So it is also required to give the recommendations to my suppliers. Okay, now see here, cost drivers rather than the type of cost should be starting point for the cost management initiative. So by making here, by using activity based costing technique, I should have to focus on cost drivers in spite of identifying the cost areas. Which are the cost areas? Like for example, finance, accounting department. So these are the cost areas. So rather than this, I should have to understand the cost drivers. Cost drivers is nothing but implementation of ABC technique, where I have to identify list of activities and list of cost drivers, and accordingly I have to allocate the cost. Here, all your suppliers must use the cost drivers or ABC in this industry, so that accurate measurement of cost is possible by using cost drivers. Rather than fixed cost, variable cost, and semi-variable cost, we should go for cost drivers. Second, conventional cost cutting measures such as finance, controlling, purchasing, supplier, manufacturing, and HR and administration are often ineffective. So we should not go for conventional cost cutting technique department wise, largely because the focus on the types of cost. So we are not going to use this kind of cost drivers. We will use the original cost drivers on the basis of list of the activities. So departmental cost we will not consider over here. Okay, so rather than focusing on finance cost, purchasing cost, material supplier cost, then manufacturing cost, HR cost, administration cost, we will identify the activities, and on the basis of these activities we will decide the cost driver, and on the basis of this cost driver we will allocate the cost. This is most accurate way. Now knowledge of the extent of the influence for each cost driver is essential. हर एक cost driver का knowledge होना जरूरी. It is not enough just to consider the impact of cost drivers on the cost. In some cases, the cost driver may have significant impact on the cost, but can also only be the partially influenced. So here, to implement this cost accounting system, activity-based cost accounting system, I should have a knowledge. As an expert, I should have a knowledge how to utilize this. How much impact there on this final product, that I need to understand. Then employee qualification is the crucial issue. So whoever is taking care of this cost activities, cost drivers and cost centers, he should have expert into that area. Then he can maintain cost very effectively. The impact of employee on company's performance and the potential of cost saving should not be underestimated or overlooked. Uska jo impact hai, we should have to understand. We should take it seriously. Then increasing complexity of product is significant cost drivers. So the complexity in the products are increasing due to diversification, due to innovations, due to changing in the methodology, due to changing in the processes. Complexity is increasing. Due to this complexity, it is very difficult to identify suitable cost driver. If you select wrong cost driver, that time what will happen? Wrong allocation will happen. That's why choosing of exact and correct cost driver is important. And to choose the suitable cost driver, we should have enough knowledge and enough qualification. The international supply chain lead to high cost in the logistic. Therefore, transport and predictable processes must be used to respond to cost. That is also required because international supply chain also bear much more cost. Because some of suppliers are from foreign countries. Okay, अगर supplier उनका cost बढ़ाते हैं तो इसका मतलब क्या है? I have to bear this cost. So that cost I have to reflect into my final price. Getting this? That's why it is also required. To avoid unnecessary cost, automotive suppliers should collaborate closely with the customers right from the start of innovation process. Here, by understanding customers' expectations, customers' needs, customer wants, I need to make the innovations. Whatever modifications I am producing, I am making in my product. If customer is not happy, that time your efforts are useless. जो इनोवेशंस आप आपके प्रोडक्ट में ला रहे हैं, अगर वो कस्टमर को अगर नहीं चाहिए तो क्या फायदा है उसका? नहीं ये चाहिए. That's why to make any kind of innovations, to make any kind of research, to make any kind of cost into your product, first you need to understand whether customer is required or not. Getting this? That is required. Otherwise what will happen? Unnecessary cost we have to bear. कस्टमर बोलेगा कि मुझे उसकी जरूरी नहीं है तो मैं क्यों वो पर्टिकुलर फैसिलिटी यूज करूं, मुझे वो फैसिलिटी नहीं चाहिए. Getting this? So at that time your efforts will be useless. It should not happen. Then you can use the cross functional team. Cross functional team यानी I can make the audit of my department by other heads. They can make the careful analysis. Other departmental head यानी प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट का ऑडिट इंस्पेक्शन डिपार्टमेंट करेगा, इंस्पेक्शन डिपार्टमेंट का ऑडिट परचेज डिपार्टमेंट करेगा, R&D डिपार्टमेंट का ऑडिट फॉर एग्जांपल इंस्पेक्शन डिपार्टमेंट करेगा. यानी क्रॉस फंक्शनल टीम्स वी विल प्रिपेयर एंड वी विल आस्क देम टू मेक द ऑडिट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट. जो डिपार्टमेंट का फॉर एग्जांपल इफ वी क्रिएट द टीम ऑफ इंटरनल ऑडिट, तो इंटरनल ऑडिट में एक मार्केटिंग का बंदा रहेगा, एक फाइनेंस का रहेगा, एक इंस्पेक्शन का रहेगा, एक HR का रहेगा, एंड दे आर गोइंग टू कंडक्ट द ऑडिट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर अदर डिपार्टमेंट. दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट का ऑडिट ये लोग बंदे करेंगे. ये रिस्पेक्टिव डिपार्टमेंट के लोग छोड़ के दूसरे लोग आके उधर का ऑडिट करेंगे और दे विल आस्क क्वेश्चंस रिलेटेड टू कॉस्ट कटिंग. दे विल एनालाइज दिस. सो दिस मे हैपन इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. नाउ last part is cost estimation in automobile industry. Now, this cost estimation means what? Estimation means what? understanding or the and estimation of or prediction of various costs in automobile industry. Cost estimation is one of the important tasks in automotive industry or automobile industry. Estimation yani making the estimation of various costs, prediction of various costs in the automotive industry. It is very much required because whenever you are going to produce the product, at that time we should have to estimate the activities, we have to plan the activities, and we have to estimate the cost of those activities. In competitive market, profit and losses are determined by the ability to estimate cost early in the planning and bidding phases. So whenever we are planning to make the product, at that time first we need to estimate the cost. Without estimating of this cost, I can't start manufacturing activity. Today there are specially developed software then which enable rapid and transparent cost estimation associated with the production of automotive body parts. Now, cost estimation is the one of the important content. Cost estimation is one of the important area. अभी ये cost estimation करने की, if I produce one mobile at that time, what will be its cost? That I have to estimate. And to estimate this cost, now there are certain softwares which help us to estimate the accurate cost of product. So it will help us to make the decision whether make or buy. मैं खुद का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करूं या मैं बाहर से आउटसोर्स करूं. ये डिसीजन लेने के लिए cost estimation is important. This software provides reasonable estimates. This kind of software which will provide reasonable estimates for the proposed stamping process or cost estimation process. As well as to estimate this cost, there are new methods and software send clear message to the planners and estimators. Estimate better and faster already early in the planning and bidding phases and the benefit from early cost estimation. So cost estimation is the one of the area which we have to implement in the automobile industry. Because on the basis of cost estimation, organization can decide whether to make or whether to buy from outside. So these are the cost estimation technique I can use in automobile industry for strategic cost management. Okay, so this is something about automobile industry strategic cost management and cost estimation. Okay, students, we have finished our time. Let us stop here, and remaining hospitality sector and healthcare sector and automobiles educational sector, these we have left with three sectors: hospitality, healthcare and educational sector from this chapter. Okay, see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.